It's not really a comic topic, but it comes up a lot in comic circles, and that's, is a movie profitable? And to be more specific, it's, is the movie I don't like profitable? And to be even more specific, it's, this movie I don't like is definitely not profitable, and here's all the weird reasons it's not for sure. I don't know why people can't just not like movies, but for whatever reason, they also have to have this profitability argument. So let me explain a little bit about what films cost, what they make, and why this argument's dumb. Hey everybody, this is Perch. This is one of those arguments that comes up again and again, and it comes up for comic book movies a lot. It came up from Captain Marvel, came up for Birds of Prey, and it's always the dumbest possible thread because in wanders in a bunch of people who think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. They get their information from videos like this one, where I'm going to put a source. So you're going to get my commentary, but here's where I want you to know. I'm educating myself by reading articles that are online by people who are actually in the business. Please don't trust me just for my word. Go actually look into this stuff yourself. But I want to point out a few different facts that you never seem to get on these shows where everybody's kind of yucking it up and they're doing their SJW film is secretly losing money all over the place, but the film studios are also SJWs. They want to inflict the SJW-ish SJW at you. And they just go on and on about this, and the people who parrot it back wind up sounding super dumb. So how much does a movie cost to make? Well, first off, it varies. Every movie is going to have a different budget, and what's important to note is when you see movie budgets on Box Office Mojo or Variety or things like that, typically what you're seeing is what's called the production budget. And just to be more clear about it, it's the three phases of production: pre, shooting, and post. This is basically the money it takes to get the movie done, casted, completed. It does not include things like marketing, incoming licensing revenue, outgoing licensing revenue in some cases. And in other times, it also doesn't include international costs and how a movie is funded. Now, we don't have the time to get into this now, but if you want to dive down the rabbit hole of crazy funding, one thing to look into is kind of the subsidies that come from filming in certain locations or internationally. This is where a film has a particular budget, but if they film part of it in, say, Chechnya, then that country is going to give them some money to actually promote and do movies there. It's all part of a very long scheme, and it's how some really terrible movies have actually made money because they got so much incoming that they were far profitable just by turning on the cameras. But be that as it may, that's a weird world. We're talking more about marketing because a lot of people will throw out this argument of, well, sure, it may have made 200 million at the box office, but it cost 100 million to make and it spent at least 100 million in marketing. Well, first of all, that's a dumb argument. People think they're making a very clever, educated, aha, I know how the business works, but in fact, they don't. What's really going on is first many things. Marketing is not 100% of a movie's production budget. People have exaggerated those numbers because there are a very small amount of films where there's been articles saying the movie spent upwards of 75 or 80% of its budget on marketing. An example of this was The Force Awakens. Disney spent a lot more on Force Awakens for marketing than they normally do. There was two reasons for this. First, they were coming out the gate and really wanting to be kind of omnipresent with their Star Wars marketing, so they spent more than usual. But second, they also had commitments to licensors that they would spend money on marketing in order to pull in those licenses. Remember, they were trying to reboot Star Wars for their own business lines in a lot of cases, so they spent more. But even despite that, the fact that most marketing of a film is around 50% of production budget, that's still not a great number. And it's because of this reason. Studios have what's called annual projected marketing budgets. They don't do marketing budgets by film. This is a big pool of money that they divide up and then allocate out to films in order to actually promote them. Now, why does this matter? Well, the marketing budget for the year is typically determined long before the studio even is sure which films they're going to bet on. So films are still costing money, but when you say things like, aha, they're losing the studio money, no, actually, those are different things. You have a production budget of getting a film done, that's tagged to the film, and then you have a marketing budget that's tagged to the studio. And there may be lots of reasons why marketing gets done the way it gets done, but it's not a simple argument to say, oh, Birds of Prey cost about 100 million to make. That's not accurate. And it cost 100 million to market, which is absolutely not accurate. Now, studios do not disclose the marketing budget to the public. If you are really, really careful about it, you may be able to go into the financials of public companies and sort of back into almost a number. But you should know right away by doing that, you're making a lot of guesswork. So if you're going to take that guesswork and you're going to launch into a big, seemingly educated argument with someone, just understand you are standing on very shaky ground because you don't really have any hard numbers or facts to back up with. You're guessing. And also be aware that any number that you tag to marketing is a false figure. So that means it's just an empty fact to argue with. Taken directly from some other people who've written on this topic, it's not fair to tag marketing costs to a film's overall cost because the studio money that was allotted to it was going to be spent anyway, even if the film never came into existence. Thus, if you spent 200 million producing Chipmunks versus Smurfs and you hate it and you want that film to die a evil death, and let's say that film made 350 million domestically, you really want to go to your video and you want to say, haha, it cost at least 100 million to market and X amount to distribute, therefore it lost money. Again, you're not dealing with real facts, you're dealing with guesses. And you've now split two different things, the actual film's budget and the studio budget. You've rammed it together. Whereas in all reality, there's a much easier argument for you to use, and that's this one. I hated the movie. It sucked. The end. It's weird to me that people will go to extraordinary lengths to want to prove that they are educated, when in reality, whenever I see somebody making this argument about, oh, yeah, but the marketing, they just sound stupid, and they sound stupid to anyone who's actually been in the business. Now, by the way, if this has been you in the past, I mean no insult here. I'm sorry if it's coming across that way. Yeah, I just said people were stupid. I don't mean to insult you, but I do want you to, not look stupid in the future. I mean, the reality is it's a actual much better argument. It's a trusted argument, and it's one that nobody can assault you with by simply saying, I hated it. It sucked. The end. Did you not like Captain Marvel? Did you think it sucked? Just say it sucked. If you feel really strongly about Captain Marvel, don't go see the movie. Don't give it your dollar. Don't go buy it. You don't need to go into these weird mental gymnastics to say, yeah, but it actually secret lost money even though it made $1 billion. And bear in mind, if you go right now to YouTube, people ask me to prove my sources. If you go right now to YouTube and you search, did Captain Marvel lose money? You will find several people who are trying to make the case that one, Disney secretly bought up theaters and in an order to kind of slush the money around, something that would be balls out illegal. That is, in a weird way, money laundering. Disney would be taken down if they were actually charging the theater, then buying the tickets themselves. Like there's some poor bastard in Disney who's going to the Fandango site and buying up the Captain Marvel tickets just so the movie looks more successful. No, that is called that is called a whirlwind of cash. You can't in mass put something in, sign commitment deals, because remember, there are people with residuals, there are people with commissions, there are people with profit sharing in this movie. If they were baking the numbers like that, people would go to jail. Okay, but you'll see videos where people are hardcore, aggressively either putting out that theory or another one that says, hey, the money that was spent on marketing was easily like $500 million. Do you know how hard it would be to spend $500 million on marketing? And by hard, I mean impossible. Well, I mean, nothing's impossible. You can have some amazing cocaine parties, but regardless, it's just silly. So The other thing that people need to understand is that when you talk about marketing, a lot of people think of that as money going out. But in reality, it's not just money going out, there's also money going in. You have plenty of product placement going on. Famously, Transformers made somewhere around 30 to 40 million dollars in having Chevy cars. You have soda, you have all kinds of different things where people pay money for product placement. That is part of that marketing budget. It's part of that sponsorship budget. And then in addition to that, you have rights paid to the studio for streaming, video on demand, pay per view, DVD, Blu ray, pay per view. And then you have, of course, the foreign market. Now, for whatever reason, and I'm always surprised that people forget about this, there is a domestic market, i.e., the United States, and then there's a international market where the film makes more money. And you have to calculate both of those. You can't do them in isolation. Some films are absolutely made just for the international market. I mean, in fact, and they're getting beat up for it. Disney has made several films where they're clearly targeting China. And that's a scummy practice in a lot of different ways, but it's also a reality. It's a business one. If you're going to put out movies, you need to think about all the different factors. What it costs to make, yes. What it costs to market, yes. As I explained earlier, out of this broader studio fund, but also things like what kind of licensing are you going to get out of it? What kind of commitments are you going to get? What product placement are you going to get? What kind of rights for streaming and for other services? What's Netflix going to pay you if you get onto their service? There's a lot of different factors here. Now, does this mean that every single film is profitable? Absolutely not. And I want to make it really clear, as you've got some people all steamed up and angry because they have heard, again, plenty of videos. Go to YouTube, just search Birds of Prey, was it profitable? And you will get a lot of nutty videos out there. Birds of Prey, as a movie, I went and watched Birds of Prey. I helped fund it. I bought a ticket. It wasn't a very good movie. It wasn't the worst movie in the world. To me, the review I have is maybe the most damning. It was dull. It felt like a movie that I would watch on the USA Network that was cheaply made and kind of put out at there was like a Saturday night movie. And there was nothing terribly memorable about it. It wasn't a tour de force. The acting wasn't amazing. It wasn't so bad it was funny and I want to see it again because it was awful. It just was kind of there. In 10 years, who's going to remember this movie? I mean, nobody. For good. I mean, I still remember Catwoman. I still remember Steel. Remember the Shaq Steel movie? I still remember that. That was an awful movie. Birds of Prey was just meh. So I don't get why people are so wrapped up in this. I'm not saying this is a hard defense of Birds of Prey or Captain Marvel or The Last Jedi or any of this crap that people hate. I'm saying it as a defense of please go get facts before you go and start making crazy arguments because you look dumb, just dumb. And I know, get in there, do your downvote because you're going to hang on to this marketing thing. But the next time you get into one of these arguments, when somebody is doing the marketing dollars, just stop. You sound like an idiot. Okay, the numbers are not as extreme as you think. It's not 100% of production. That is a ludicrous number that zero people can show any facts about. And like I explained, this is studio dollars. You got to calculate incoming and outgoing. But the other part is, I'll just repeat it again. Just don't like the movie. Your strongest argument for Captain Marvel or Star Wars or is Rey a Mary Sue or whatever you want to do, your strongest possible argument is to say, this movie was bad. I hated it. Or this movie looked so bad, I'm not going to see it in the first place. That's all the ground you need. That's it. You have just presented an ironclad, perfect argument for the film being terrible by simply saying, I didn't like it. Don't try and make yourself a movie production wizard. You're just going to wind up looking stupid. And you don't need it. This is an argument you don't need. Anyway, if you want to go educate yourself on this, there's a bunch of good sources. First off, the easiest thing, simply go to Google and type in money spent on production versus marketing. That's it. If you do that, you're going to find a million articles. I don't know about a million, but you're going to find stuff from legitimate sources. You'll also find some nice, dumbed down articles on from like How Stuff Works and other places. But you can look at Hollywood Reporter, you can look at Variety, you can look at IMDb, look at Box Office Mojo. You can get people who work in the business, and granted, anyone can say anything, but you can go to Quora, you can go to all kinds of different places. You can look at Fortune. There's a million places where you can look for this data. It's easy. But please, just Google it. Like literally, just Google it, and just be comfortable hating something. It's okay just to hate something. The end. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. By all means, trash me in the comments. Tell me, but no, but if you like. I mean, you can tell me about your inside source that is convinced that Disney actually laundered money for Captain Marvel. You can tell me that you have a friend who said that Birds of Prey's marketing budget was actually 200% of production, and that's why the film will never get hired again. You can tell me that Margot Robbie has naked sex pictures of people in Time Warner, whatever you want to do. I mean, by all means, entertain me. Throw it in the comments. Let's hear it. But Google is your friend in a lot of cases, and these facts are out there. And so, just my humble request to you. Anyway, like, subscribe, downvote, whatever you're gonna do. Thank you for listening. Let's go out there and just love and hate what we want.